And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus on this Monday, December 29th. We're going into the final week of 2025, and Mother Nature reminding us it is winter. And boy, what a nice little storm we had over the weekend with the wind, snow, blizzard conditions. It's, I think, this blizzard number 2 for the season for most of us, and this won't be the last one, Bridgette.
I heard it was called Blizzard Brad. Got named.
From the Weather Channel?
No, actually, I think it was just a couple in Grand Forks that put it on my Facebook page.
Oh, okay.
But nonetheless. And when you say a nice little storm, there's a whole lot of people in here in this room giving you some hate.
I know.
Stop that.
I'm used to it, though. I'm used to it. Now, we did have a pretty nasty little storm come through the area. Luckily, conditions are improving quickly out there right now, so a good day for cleanup, if you will. We had about 3 to 6 inches of snow that fell across much of the area, and now we're finally seeing some quiet weather, lighter winds. It's not going to last long, though, so enjoy it while you can. It's going to be a cold one today, though, with temperatures currently just below 0. We're going to warm up to about 7 above. That's it. As winds turn to the south, about 5 to 10. And then tonight, we'll actually see temperatures rise all night as a warm front moves into the area. That will trigger off a few snow showers towards sunrise, but not expecting much. A dusting, maybe a couple tenths of an inch out of that. And then we'll see a break on Tuesday. We'll warm things up above freezing for a change. 33 for your Tuesday. Quite a bit of cloud cover. Then winds turn to the northwest late as a cold front swings through. And then another clipper system rides into the area Tuesday night into the first half of the day on Wednesday. That'll give us about another inch to 2 inches. And then some breezy conditions behind that, which will produce some blowing snow on Wednesday with northwest winds at about 10 to 25 and gusting at times a little higher than that. And then Arctic air arrives Wednesday and Thursday, highs only in the single digits. New Year's Eve night, we should quiet things down. It'll still be breezy and temperatures will be dipping below 0. So it's going to be a cold New Year's Eve night. And then, oddly enough, we've got another clipper coming our way on Sunday. So just published on our website, WDAYradionow.com, our winter weather outlook, which pinpoints when these storms are expected to come through our area from now through March. So we can pinpoint those target days of stormy weather.
All I have to do is lay my calendar over it. I'll know exactly when it's going to be storming.
When you're on the road?
Yep.
Yep.
It'll work out just fine. Yes. Okay. So first question, Addison, do we have Greg Hansen with the Hansen Agri Commodities ready to roll? We do. Awesome. So before we get to introducing everybody else today, on Friday, we did not get a chance to do our market recap with Greg Hansen for Market Uncovered because it was the Christmas holiday, wrapping it up. So Greg is joining us today. Again, the Hansen Agri Commodities. Greg joins us every Friday. Well, or on a Monday after we've had a Friday off. And so, Greg, was there much that happened in the way of commodity trading because of the Christmas holiday last week?
It was kind of quiet for the most part. I mean, like today, especially here, where corn's down 7, 8, beans were down 9. It feels like we're just pushing the market because you don't have as many traders here. So, we've seen that in the past. You got a lot of guys taking vacation, taking extra time off, and you can push the market, whether it's up or down. So it really feels like holiday trade going on. Not that we probably shouldn't be lower today. South American weather's pretty good. The dry areas we were watching in Brazil a month ago have caught enough rainfall that they're in pretty darn good shape. And even looking the next 7-10 days out, has some good rain coming. There's some areas in Brazil that are maybe a little on the dry side, but I don't think it's enough to really get the market excited yet. So while probably should be down a little today just on decent South American growing conditions, 8 cents, 9 cents, I feel a little stiff. So I think this is kind of some holiday trade.
While I was listening to a podcast this morning, and their discussion probably centered a little bit more on pork and beef trading, there was some mention of the fact that Argentina and Brazil are seeing incredibly high interest rates, like double where we're at in the United States. Has that played into some of their markets, made any changes in their growing season, their production? Maybe has that affected them on the global markets for when it comes to selling product because they've had to step up their pricing?
I think it has to because, just think about around here. Think of what interest rates are today versus 5 years ago. It has to have affected how they buy inputs, how they manage their costs. We've seen in the past, and some of this is also just dollar relationship. Beans are sold in US dollars, that with the high inflation rates these countries deal with, what they'll do is they will, especially in Brazil, they'll hoard soybeans and use it as a hedge against global inflation. So if they go and price those beans and then put their Brazilian real in their pocket and put in the bank, well, tomorrow that's worth less, but those beans hold the value. So it definitely affects how they especially the farmer markets grain. And we've seen in previous administrations 2 3 years ago in Argentina, they would give a holiday. Okay, for so long we're going to allow you to sell beans, and where Argentina uses a export tax to bring in some of the revenue, with the farmer lack of selling, you're not bringing revenue in then to the government. Okay, we're going to discount that tax, and all of a sudden the farmers sell a bunch. And so I think it definitely is affecting how South American producers do things uh, differently than what we would do here. And while we are complaining about our interest rate, and now they've come down a little bit,
Mhm.
probably, I don't know, pushing a point from where they had been a year ago, our rates, even at these levels, are still historically very cheap compared to what other places in the world deal with.
That is a great point. We are still looking at much cheaper money, so to speak, than many other areas. I do have a listener question for you, and this is from one of our listeners who says, "Ask Greg his thoughts on forward selling 26 corn or soybeans yet."
I know for some of our clients, we've been doing some already. I think you need to know, having a general idea where your break evens are at. But on that rally we had here, for the guys who have maybe a little bit below average rent cost, we went and made our first sales. For the guys who are paying higher priced rent, we didn't quite get to a level that I wanted to look at selling, but we got really close, probably within nickel dime away from where our orders were at. But I'm a firm believer in selling in advance. 4 out of 5, 5 out of 6 years, it seems like the first sale you make for that new crop tends to be your best sale. And you wish you had half, 3/4 of the crop sold at that price. The 1 year in that window where it's not your best sale, it might be your worst sale. But if you're selling at a spot where you think you can make some money, I mean, then obviously price isn't the issue. So I have always been a firm believer in spreading your risk out. Uh, you have a little over 2 years to market a crop. You've got about a year and a half before you harvest it, and you've got roughly 8 months afterwards. So there's a lot of time. If you give yourself that much time, should be opportunities over a 2 year window to get your crop marketed. And a chunk of that is ahead of time. So I always think looking in advance, and if you can find an opportunity where you think you can find some profitability, what are you going to do? You have to ask yourself, what am I going to do with that? But I think making a sale where there's profit is always a good idea.
I'm always grateful that Greg joins us for these segments because I might be pretty good at killing some weeds in your crop, but I'm pretty terrible at selling your grain. And one of the last questions to ask here, Greg, is what marketing lessons might you look back to in the last 2 years? What are some lessons learned that we might want to use as we think ahead about how we're going to contract in the next year or more?
Well, usually this week between Christmas and New Year's, here internally, we always kind of look at, in the last 12 months, what do we do right? In the last 12 months, what do we not do something as well as we could? How can we improve things? And so we're always trying to reassess and learn from learn from what we did right, learn from what we did wrong. And the one thing that I would say personally is, we never really had much of a summer weather rally this year. And it is, what would someone said, the first year time in 10 or 20 years where we never really even took out the January highs. So while the average farmer kind of markets his crop based on what happened last year, The last 2 years we've had some summer weather issues that we were able to trade, whether they were legit or not. But we had a market opportunity to trade them. We never really got that this year. And for myself, one thing that I've learned and that I'm starting to implement now is maybe don't be quite as greedy on some of my targets as what I maybe put in the spring or the summer. There's a few times we missed a target by just a penny or two. It's one thing if you miss it by a nickel dime, but I get mad at myself if I miss a target because I was a penny or two too high. And so I've kind of told myself, don't be as greedy. When I'm looking for targets, when in doubt, round it down and make sure you get, the market doesn't give us a lot of opportunities. Normally you get 3 or 4 opportunities a year. That's why I think spreading your marketing out over 2 years is a good idea. It gives you more opportunities, but you don't want to miss an opportunity. And so just here personally, it's maybe don't be quite as greedy on some of my targets. Maybe round them down a couple cents and hope we get them hit the next time.
Remember, it's not Vegas. So, Greg Hansen with Hansen Agri Commodities, thank you. We get to talk again on Friday as we will recap the current week that we've just begun.
Look forward to it. See you then.
All right, quick. What's your phone number? People might have questions for you.
Yep. So if you want to get a hold of us, 507-338-6433. You can check out our Facebook page at Hansen Agri Commodities or go to our website at hansen-ag.com.
Greg joins us here at the Coral Laundromat studio for Weather and Ag in Focus. Again, he'll be back with us on Friday at 1:20 so we can recap the week's market segments and what's been happening. If you have questions for Greg, Dean, or myself, you can reach us on the JLA Insurance phone line, 701-293-9000. Because the 2026 crop year looks to show higher premium subsidies, more coverage options, and some stronger benefits for beginning farmers. Let's not discount those, so you'll want to talk to Nate Thorsrud at JLA Insurance. They bring us our phone line. Lighthouse Commodities make sure that you can see what we're talking about. Literally, you can follow our live stream on YouTube, Facebook, and Acres TV, thanks to Lighthouse Commodities. And I've been watching our emails. That's how I got questions for Greg. And our inboxes are sponsored by Superior Grain Equipment, where Superior Grain storage, drying, and handling solutions can happen at superiourbins.com. My email is ag@flagfamily.com. Dean's is weather@flagfamily.com. When we return, the professional ag ladies are here. We are joined by 2 of them, and we're going to talk about year-end wrap-ups and some predictions maybe for going into 2026. Stay tuned. We'll be back. And I am joined here in the Coral Laundromat studio today with the professional ag ladies, or at least that's what we call ourselves. So I am joined by
Marcia Van Leer,
with
Gowan, USA.
and
Sherry Cook with the Mosaic Company.
and our best wishes and hopes to Sarah Levis, who is with GK Technology but was unable to join us today. All right, so we always just want to kind of talk about whatever's going on, up to date, current, etc., that's happening in the ag industry. We represent a number of different segments of it, right? From fertilizer, ag chem. We've got experience in this room with seed, precision ag, custom application, and so much more. So this morning I sent you guys a link to a story because it caught my eye, and this was on Farm Journal's morning email talking about fertilizer production globally. And it listed North Dakota as one of the top producers for potash, which, okay, yeah, that was my response. Before we even get to that, we do have some listeners who are saying, well, what's potash? So, Sherry, can you give us just a quick overview? What's actually potash before we even get to why not we need it?
So potash is a fertilizer that we mine, multiple companies mine in Canada and other countries as well. Russia, Morocco, China. There's lots of other countries that mine it. And we do have some small facilities in the U.S. as well, but primarily we import most of our potash, and it's a potassium-based fertilizer. And so for Mosaic, we mine 3 separate types of potash. It's a zero nitrogen, zero phosphate, and 60% or 62% potash.
Okay.
And so it's a potassium fertilizer that our crops need.
And when we talk about potash, immediately Canada comes to mind, right? You
Right.
both have experience in ag retail. That was where 90% of our potash here in North Dakota was coming from.
Correct.
But this article mentioned that North Dakota could be a top 5 producer. And I said, hold on, why would that be? So, all right, Sherry, why would that possibly be? Or why not?
There began the text messaging this morning. So
I tried to wait till after 7 a.m., you guys.
thank you for that, by the way. So potash, there is potash under the ground in North Dakota. And so when we tour our mines up in Canada for Mosaic, they show us a picture of what the deposit looks like in Canada. And it's huge.
Yeah.
Huge. And it does come down into North Dakota, the northwestern part of North Dakota, northeastern part of Montana. And the main reason we do not mine it here in the U.S. is because of the depth. We mine approximately 3,000 to 3,300 feet deep in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
In North Dakota, it would be over 7,000 feet deep. And so it's not very economical to mine it here. Plus, if we would ever decide we want to do that in the U.S. or in North Dakota, as this article mentioned, it would take a minimum of 10 years to get the permits to be able to mine that deep and to get that deep, right?
Yep.
To get these shafts to go to that deep to where we can actually pull potash out of the ground.
Yeah, it's not like it's at the surface. It's not like we're
No.
open strip mining this.
Not at all.
So put this into listener terms.
Okay.
You said it's over 7,000 feet deep in North Dakota. That's
Mhm.
like 1.25 miles
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
below the surface.
Right.
If a person can picture that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's the depth we've got to go to pull it out. And we're fracking in the western part of the state where the majority of this potash deposit would be.
Correct.
So, I mean, I'm no geologist. How are we going to move around what we're doing for oil in order to try to take that potash out?
Right.
It sounds messy.
It does.
And
it's not economical at all to even attempt to start going that deep, right?
No.
There's much better technology in the oil business.
Mhm.
Like you said, fracking, they can go sideways, they can go up and down, whatever. Not necessarily the same when it comes to potash because you need to put people down there to get things going.
right.
Mind you, we've got a newer shaft up in Esterhazy in Saskatchewan, but it's a process and it doesn't go quickly.
Well, and to try and open up a new shaft in the U.S., I mean, with the environmental regulations and everything else,
I don't know how.
I
know how
don't
either.
see that happening at all.
I
I
mean,
mean, the
we're-
hoops that we'd have to go through.
We're closing agribusinesses because they're not meeting specifications for whether it's emissions, up-to-date technologies, et cetera. So I can't see us being able to open up another mine, like you said, in that regard. And coming from your retail background, your years that you were selling direct to farm, there's not enough room on margins to do this type of thing.
No, there's not. I mean, yeah, let's not talk margins on fertilizer because there's not a lot of margin in there. I mean, there's just, then you'd also look at, okay, the amount of rail traffic
Mm-hmm.
that would increase. I mean, rail traffic in the U.S. right now is already, I'm not going to say maxed, but I mean,
Pretty
it's
tight.
It's trying to get rail out of oil
Uh-huh.
oil's king.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
They're,
stuff, and-
they're number one.
Yes.
I mean, I know you sit there and you look at these elevators right now that are sitting on trains. I mean, because of everything else. So yeah, I don't see it happening.
And coming from the fertilizer side, fertilizer is absolutely dead last when it comes to the rail
Sure.
and what they're going to haul. Everything else comes first because usually we're waiting for grain cars or something else,
Yes.
and it gets to be a battle. And that's, you brought up a good point, Marcia, in the sense that the logistics behind getting potash. So say we did,
Yeah.
right? It's 20 years down the road. We've got a mine in North Dakota. The amount of rail it would take to move the product that we would need to move
Yeah.
would be
Just
a
tremendous.
nightmare.
Here we can truck, right? If it's
Sure.
coming out of Saskatchewan, et cetera, we can at least use some trucking,
Correct.
which we're going to be, again, we are probably the top state for use of potash as well because of our proximity. But when I hear politicians and so forth say we have to increase our U.S. domestic fertilizer production, it's based on what you have and the expense to get it out of the ground.
Right.
And it's not always going to be feasible for what
No.
we want.
Correct.
I mean, we can do that in other areas. There's certain areas that it's just not worth it.
Right. Absolutely. There's a cost, a return on investment on these things. And sometimes I think it's forgotten in the headlines that it sounds like a great idea, but is it actually economical?
And I'm going to put a plug in for using potash.
Please.
Amen.
Well, okay, so potash is one of those nutrients that kind of gets overlooked
Mm-hmm.
when you're looking at a total nutrient program, especially on soybeans. So soybeans will overuse potash. I mean, if it is there, they are going to use potash like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, we don't see a lot of potash used on wheat.
No, we do not.
So chloride is part of that potassium. Potassium chloride is really the ore that we're getting, or the rock, or whatever you want to call it. So what does chloride do in a plant? It's stock strength.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what else. I just always remember stock strength, and that is key. And a lot of growers are trying to cut back, so we're going to cut back on potash. Well, you see a lot of lodged wheat fields.
You do, but in the case of soybeans, wouldn't that lead to pod drop as well?
Mm-hmm.
Potentially.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. News. We got to do the news. We'll come back with the professional ag ladies. We'll continue our conversation. It might not be about potash, but Lord knows it'll be about something. So hang tight. if you are interested in hearing more about Tech Support Farm, particularly in regards to cybersecurity for your farm or agribusiness, there will be an upcoming webinar that you can attend free of charge. I believe that is on Tuesday, January 6th, somewhere around 11 o'clock. You can find that on the website for techsupport.farm, and you can go take a look at signing up for that. Well worth it if you would like to invest the hour to learn more. Here in studio today, there'll be lots of things to learn because we are joined by the professional ag ladies. I have Sherry from Mosaic and I have Marcia from Gowan. We were laughing just a little bit behind the scenes because we all have farm dads. My dad's gone, but farm dads, and some of the things that they will do. And one of them is they will be more invested in your new pickup than you are. They want to make sure you get the right thing. You're still their daughter. They're checking it out for you.
Yes. That's so true.
I'm glad he calls you every day to find out where your vehicle
Well,
is.
he doesn't actually call me. Although he did call me yesterday. So we were down in Mankato and for family Christmas, not realizing, I don't
Storm coming.
Yeah, I don't pay that close of attention to the weather. And I'm like, oh, so he's talking, there's a storm coming. I'm like, it'll be fine.
Mm.
And then my aunt and her friend, they're talking about this big storm. I'm like, oh, okay. So I look at my husband. I'm like, we should maybe head home because I got places to be on Monday. So yeah, we left Mankato at 4 p.m. and dense fog all the way to basically Alex, and then it was clear to Fergus, and then dense fog and ice from Fergus to Northwood, and we did make it home before the snow, so that was good.
Well, that's
Positive.
Yeah, I woke up
Yes.
yesterday. I'm like, oh, good thing we left.
So some of us apparently are playing games over Christmas, but they're ag related.
Well, I had done a training with some customers the week before Christmas, which reminded me to never, ever do that again.
I'm putting
But-
a note on my calendar for
Yes.
December 1st. Sherry, don't schedule
Yeah.
this again.
And so
She'll schedule.
I did a agronomy Christmas trivia.
Okay.
And so, fitting for what we all do in this industry. And so here's a question. See if you
Okay.
guys know this. Which U.S. state grows the most Christmas trees
Oregon.
annually?
You think it's Oregon?
Bridgette?
I don't know. She was quite confident.
She is, and she is correct. Ding, ding, ding. She's got the best answer or the right answer.
'Kay.
All right.
You didn't even have time to Google. How'd you know?
Yeah, she knows that.
Because we might have done holiday trivia.
So
And that was one of the questions.
do you know which state grows the most figs?
I'm going to say it's Arizona because I got figs
Yep.
from Marcia.
No, those are dates, but
Oh, sorry.
dates
Okay.
and
Close, but no.
California or New Mexico?
So
Ding, 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 ding. California is correct. So California raises the most figs. And how about cranberries?
okay, before you leave the figs, etc. Aren't they a huge water user, and is that production going down right now because of California not having water in the right places?
Potentially.
Do we know that answer?
Has anybody bought figs this year?
No, I get dates.
Yeah,
No.
I haven't bought figs either.
I haven't had a chance to get a
But I
figgy
have
pudding.
bought cranberries. Have you guys tried the new cranberry pops, the sugar-covered cranberries, the big TikTok thing that's going on where you bake them for a short period and you kind of freeze dry them almost,
Mm.
and then you pop them in your mouth and they pop.
I'm
I just made a
expecting you to
batch
send
this
us
morning.
some.
I think I need to bring some next time.
Ah,
All right,
yes, you
so
do.
last question. Which state grows the most cranberries?
Wisconsin.
Yeah, you guys
The
do that.
bogs.
Have you ever been to the Cranberry Museum in Wisconsin? There
have
is
not.
a Cranberry Museum.
Is it better than the Spam Museum
Oh my
in
God.
Austin, Minnesota? She sold me on this deal. I got to go to
No,
Austin now.
no, you have to go to the Spam Museum. It's 45 minutes to an hour. It's free. You get every single variety of Spam they have.
Where is this at?
It's in Austin,
Austin, Minnesota.
which is the
to
headquarters
know.
of Hormel.
Which it's almost like going to the Budweiser factory where you get free beer, but here you get free Spam. And if they were next door to each other, it would work way better.
And you can do how many Spam cans tall are you?
Oh,
You can like pack a little can of Spam. It's you know what, for kill an hour of time. And then there's a great barbecue restaurant just down the street.
Do they barbecue Spam?
I was just
They
going to say,
do.
do they serve Spam?
They do. They actually have a Spam menu. I'm telling
Shredded
you guys,
Spam
Do you have the chance?
on a bun.
Okay, I just did the history of Hormel Foods here on the show not that long ago. It's well over 100 years old. It was the turn of the century, like 1891,
Mhm.
when George Hormel started from a small butcher shop, but he had such good quality that his business kept growing. And it got to be after World War I, they were looking for a way to use normally unused portions of a pork shoulder. And that's how Spam was born, so to speak. And they wanted it shelf stable. And then it really took off during World War II.
Spam is what saved Europe and Japan.
And Hawaii.
After the bombing of Hiroshima and stuff. I mean, Spam is really what saved
Didn't know
what
that.
saved Japan. And then actually, so okay, we're gonna get off subject.
It's okay. I got a pork thing after this.
So soldiers during World War II
Mhm.
ate a bunch of Spam.
Right.
So when they came back, they're like, I don't want Spam. I mean, my grandpa was just, don't want Spam. Then after that, it was Dinty Moore stew.
Yes. Also
So-
done by Hormel.
Yep. So Dinty Moore stew is a Hormel. Skippy peanut butter
Mm-hmm.
is owned by Spam, and now Planters peanuts. Planters nuts is owned by Spam.
They're a multi-billion-dollar company as far as all their
it's-
foodstuffs.
Did you learn all this in the museum?
Part of it.
As a group,
Yes.
we constitute a very large portion of useless knowledge between
There
all
you
of
go.
us. It's excellent to
We
have.
would agree. We'd be a great trivia.
We'd be a
team.
great trivia team. So, okay, back to the pork. I was listening to a podcast this morning, and they were talking about pork production hit its record lows in about 1998. I think they were 8 cents a pound.
Yep.
I mean, if you think about that on a live
Wow.
weight animal, 8 cents a pound was just, they were giving them away because it was cheaper than trying to process.
So they were, because southern Minnesota.
Yep.
You know, where I go outside, and there's more hogs than people.
Yep.
And at the time, my dad he could buy like a belly rupture,
Mm-hmm.
which is perfectly fine. I mean, it's a perfectly fine animal,
Right.
but he could buy a belly rupture for like $20 and get it butchered.
Mm-hmm. They
I mean,
so
because
cheap.
the processors wouldn't take it.
So now we've had a rebound in that. And one of the things that I learned was, as we've heard about, construction costs have gone up, right? Interest, all of these building items, putting infrastructure on the farm has gone up tremendously. Just like you have to know your dollars and cents on your grain storage. They said if today we want to build a hog barn, $425 a head to build a barn.
Wow.
Yeah. And when they did the math on it, in order to figure out how long would it take you to pay off that barn right now, this is without interest or anything else. Just that $425 a head was going to take you like 10 years to pay off that barn. So if you'd been smart right after the 8 cent low in 98, if you'd have built new barns, granted, they would now be well over 25 years old, but you actually would have paid those barns off faster and have been like hitting the high as pork came back up.
Right.
So interesting little side notes. Not that we deal in livestock very often. I mean, most of us are really good in the field, not necessarily in the feedlot.
Right.
I can't remember. I used to sell hog manure.
And hog manure isn't one of that, like it's ranked right behind chicken litter for nitrogen source.
Depending on the source.
Okay.
So if it's a deep pitted facility,
Sure.
yes, it's also high in phosphates. If it's a 1 stage, 2 stage, like some of the
Like a
old style
slurry.
farrowing,
Yeah.
the first stage would be, the second stage is mostly just water. So then they're injecting 15, 20,000 gallons an acre.
So let's say you're going to use manure, but you're running a test, you're doing the nitrogen test or nitrate tests on it to see what it's missing. I don't know if you've ever had this question, Sherry, but in the fertilizer business, what's most typically missing that you would have to supplement that's not coming out of either like a beef or a swine manure that's being put on a field? Do you have any idea? Because there's got to be some micros that are missing, right?
I would think so. I guess I don't deal a lot with manure. Just
Right.
we produce dry fertilizer, right?
Yep.
But I don't know, Marsh.
That's-
What do you think? If you've worked with the hog side of it,
I'm trying to remember if we ever really. I don't know that we ever really tested for the micros. I mean, the biggest benefit of the manure side of it, as opposed to a commercial fertilizer, is the organic matter.
Sure.
You're able to build up, but the most limiting factor, a lot of guys are still having to supplement nitrogen because the limiting factor is going to be phosphorus, because the phosphorus is so high.
mm-hmm.
So
I agree.
you have a fix for that.
Mm-hmm.
my phosphorus fix.
Yeah.
All right. hold tight. We got to come back in a few minutes. When we do, we will probably take a little look at the weather. I don't know. Maybe it's cold outside. That's probably the best way to summarize it.
Don't ask me to sing that song.
Oh, you can hum.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll be right back. Normally, Dean would be here to do the weather, and since he's not, I'm just going to tell you it's cold. It's going to stay cold for a while. I think later this week it's going to be cold again. So
No, there's gonna be one nice day tomorrow.
tomorrow
Maybe.
you can
That's short weather.
take your hat off
Eh.
for a little bit.
Depends if the sun's out or not.
Well, good news. That weather update's brought to you by Progressive Ag Risk Management Specialists. Okay, I'm going to have to apologize to the guys over there. Sorry, Ray. Not the weather person here. But I am joined by the professional ag ladies. So I have Marcia from Gowan. I have Sherry from Mosaic. Sherry made a great point on the break. So what did your little AI fingers tell us?
So we oftentimes will discuss and go in depth on some of the issues that farmers are having, and not necessarily always the positive side of things. And so I was telling Bridgette how this morning I just asked my little co-pilot on my phone, what are the
Hold on. Did you name your co-pilot?
I haven't yet, but that's a great idea.
We will be doing that
We're going to be
later.
doing that.
'Kay.
What are the key areas? What are things that are going well for the U.S. farmer instead of maybe focusing on things that maybe aren't so good?
Absolutely.
And so one of them, first one, was farm income and profitability.
Which, okay, we break that down because we were talking about it on the break.
USDA projects net farm income of nearly $180 billion in 2025, which is up 40% from 24, which is awesome. Net cash rebound expected to hit that $193.7 billion, up roughly 21% from 2024, driven by government payments, lower feed costs, and stronger livestock returns.
So CoBank came out probably August, September, said that only, was it CoBank or it might have been Association of Ag Lenders? Somebody in banking, not me, said that only 52% of farms are going to be profitable this year versus 88% in 24, and 24% of that profitability overall was coming out of government payments. I don't think our corn and soybean prices are as low as expected right now, especially if you're forward contracting. And as far as those government payments, look, we've been doing that a long time. That's just a built-in, I'm afraid.
Agreed. And then you look at also the cattle industry has been at an all-time high.
Yep.
Over the last, how many?
Solid in 25, it started in late half of 24.
24,
Yeah. And, I mean, whether it's beef, but even pork just surpassed chicken as the most consumed protein globally. I was a little surprised.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
That's not surprising, though. I mean, when you sit there and you look at some of the production coming out of China.
And just the Asian market.
I was just going to say
diets.
that.
Yeah, I mean, they're although I was just over at Hornbacher's and they had, I don't know if it was Smithfield or who it was, those little like 1 pound or 2 pound pork loins.
Yeah.
They're like $6.99 at Hornbacher's, so stock up.
So, okay, in that regard of pork loins versus, chicken breasts, etc., I had recently read this that probably, everybody wants to blame the millennials for everything, but they're like 40 now. Just leave them alone. But kids in that age group that are probably 35 years and younger are intimidated by having to cook a protein like a pork loin or a prime rib, etc. Chicken is less intimidating when it comes to cooking. So that's driving some of the demand too.
Would never have put that together.
It's because I've seen you cook and you're fabulous at it.
Well, that's a different story. But
That doesn't surprise me though either, because I mean, chicken's pretty versatile. Chicken's
True.
pretty easy to cook.
Very.
I grew up on a hog farm, so I mean, for me, cooking pork is,
second nature.
yeah, we had it all the time. I mean, I until a few years ago was intimidated by cooking a prime rib, and then I found the recipe, and I'm like, oh, okay, well,
That's why I make my husband cook the prime rib.
And these two dairy girls over here, Marcia, we were told how terribly bad we were going to die if we undercooked our pork. You probably didn't even have to worry about that.
yeah.
And then add milk.
Well, let's be honest. We had to because that was going in the mashed potatoes with the
True.
butter.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
I drink enough well water. We're fine. It was from a hose.
Huh.
What's that tell you?
What else is on that list? Did we cover them all?
So farmland values.
Uh-huh.
National average farm real estate value rose 4% to $4,350 an acre.
We've not seen a drop off. Maybe a slight plateau in some areas.
Cropland at $5,800 an acre. And so cash rent remains strong. So
Mhm.
from that perspective, land prices are staying at a very respectable level.
I did have a couple of farmers tell me that they realized they were going to have to pay more attention this year on their weed control because they had not for about 3 years running, and that was starting to look pretty messy.
Yeah.
And also, there is a rumbling amongst landlords that they want to start seeing soil tests to see if the land has been nutrient mined by their renters or what they have to do to require it to come back up to standards where it's not completely depleted.
And that's a conversation I have often with
Yep.
retail folks
Yeah.
on whether land is owned or rented,
Mm-hmm.
as to how they'll steward that land, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we see that. You see that a lot on the weed control side, especially. I mean, look at Palmer.
Mhm.
Palmer
I mean,
amaranth.
you get Palmer onto a field, and I think I've told you the story about a friend of mine down in Arkansas. They were trying to rent some land, and the guy didn't. He wanted to give it to a young guy, and the young guy rented it, and I mean, it was a disaster.
Well, yeah, at that point, everything's been overtaken. Well, we are about to be overtaken, and that will be by the Jay Thomas Show. He's up next. Thanks for joining me, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.